We are doing our annual UK Go Grand Rounds today, and just trying to talk to you a little bit about how it's been to come back from the shutdown of COVID and how that dramatically affected global health activities, even more so than many other types of activities. We are very happy also to welcome a couple of new members to UK Go that weren't in our team at the last time we presented this. Oh, yes, awesome. And so we have Dr. Kapoor, who joined our efforts, and we're so happy to have her. She's bringing an invaluable efforts to UK Go. Also Ellen Van Norman, who was already with us 2 years ago, but we're formally starting this new project with her. So we're very, very, very happy and lucky to have her on our team. And then we'll also have Angela today talk about her experience internationally as she ended her residency. We have no financial disclosures today. And this is just, I think everyone knows this, but it seems like it needs to be said every time we talk about global health and global ophthalmology, that it's really important. The training is not embedded in residency, but it really is essential for health professionals to have training in global health and in socioeconomic sensitivity, social justice, and health inequity. And we feel like global health brings that to the table and is necessary for every trainee in healthcare, and not only for those who like global health. So these are just the objectives. We're hoping that at the end you'll be able to describe the concept of global ophthalmology, outline the main aspects of an academic global health program, and define the organizational and clinical features necessary to promote ophthalmology outreach. When UK Go started, I guess already like 4.5 years ago, Dr. Higgins and I got together and decided to create this division in the department. The idea was to promote equitable and sustainable access to eye care through education, research, outreach, and partnerships. And we're actually really proud to say that we have achieved many of these in a relatively short period of time, and that we are, I think our global ophthalmology program is actually on the cusp of really, big things in global ophthalmology, and we're leading several national efforts for global ophthalmology in residency and also for faculty, as you'll see. These are the main, we have many activities going on, but these are just the main current global ophthalmology activities. We have them divided by regional, national, and international. Because we only have an hour today and there's so much interesting stuff to talk about, there are a few of these that we will not go very deeply into, specifically the DR Screening Network, which Dr. Higgins started, basically by himself several years ago, and we present this every year. And you all know how, I think most of you know at least how amazing this effort has been, and it's basically the same. So we won't go much into that today, and then. We will just briefly brush through Haiti because I talk about that every year too, and we don't have a lot of time today. And then we'll talk a little more in depth about the other things. So to start, I'm really excited about this. So we just recently got together with Dr. Abujaude and talked about eventually, so as probably all of you know, she's the director of the Medical Retina Fellowship as of a few months ago, and we just got together and she's right there. And so we were talking and thinking, would it be interesting for the Medical Retina Fellow to have an option to do global ophthalmology work? And we thought, maybe that would be interesting. So we, starting with the next fellow in 2023, we will be offering an option for 8 to 10, maximum 10 weeks of global ophthalmology work, whether locally or internationally, whatever they want. That's going to be funded by UK Go, and it's projected to start in 2023. So we're excited about that. We're hoping that will attract interesting candidates to the Medical Retina Fellowship, and hope also that will bring fresh eyes also into the group, to the UK Go program. This, I think most of you know too, our Go residency track started also a couple of years ago, thanks to the advocacy of our wonderful residency program director, Dr. Danny Moore, who's also back there, and who is really, I think, a leader in promoting global ophthalmology in residency, because many residency program directors just don't take this as a priority and have so much in their hands that they don't feel that this is a priority and don't promote it. And Dr. Danny Moore, besides promoting everything else amazingly, also helps promote this, which I think is essential for trainees. So we started in 2020. We typically take 1 to 2 PGY2s per year. In our first edition in July 2020, we took Dr. Conde and Dr. Smith into our program. The second edition, we got Dr. Blosser and Dr. Vora. And finally, this last year, we had Dr. Tartar join us as well. They have all been doing great work. We currently have 5 research projects that are global ophthalmology targeted and that are being led by these 5 amazing residents. In fact, the first big global ophthalmology summit just happened a few weeks ago in Utah, and we had 3 of our 5 residents go and present 2 posters and 1 oral presentation in a really, really competitive process of acceptance of oral presentation. So we're really, really proud of that. We also got really good feedback that the 3 of them did great. They also really liked the summit, made lots of connections. The residency track is also has the benefit or the advantage of providing access to international trips to the residents that are a part of it. So, you know, we try to facilitate those international trips, and not only with contacts with our sites internationally, but also we fully fund the international trips. We've had Dr. Conde go already in one trip. She's planning another one this year as a senior resident, and all our residents, I believe, are also planning on doing that, and they're welcome to do it as they know. And I think that's one of the highlights of the track is really that international experience. Our applications for 2023 will be opening on October 1 for PGY1. So that email will be going out soon. So if you are a PGY1, you're very welcome to apply. And we'll be very, very happy to welcome 1 or 2 residents this coming year in our residency track. All right, so this project, these projects that I discussed a little bit before were relatively new things, or we were able to keep them somewhat going during the shutdown, and even during the lighter part of the pandemic. But this was one project that was very dear to us, and we really had to stop because there was no way of doing it during a pandemic, which was All Eyes on Appalachia. And this is a project where or a program where we were going on Saturday free outreach clinics to Eastern Kentucky and providing free full eye exams, including subspecialty exams, to anyone who would show up, and free eyeglasses for eligible, patients. We did several of these in 2019 and at the end of 2018. And then we had one planned for March of 2020, and you probably all can imagine what happened to that one. Just got shut down and closed, and we couldn't do that one because everything was closed 2 weeks before that happened. These weekend trips were really, really important. We were not only providing eye care sometimes to 100 patients in a day, and eyeglasses, and we could see the need in these people who would come and stay in lines for hours outside the clinics. But also they were unique opportunities to see things like, for example, Dr. Blackburn refracting. You can get this in just a regular clinic, in refracting like 30 patients in one day on minus SIL, like you know, this is the type of thing that in the patients were all super happy, like perfect refractions. And we have, you know, Dr. Sanders doing the same thing, all these like stars of the department, seeing 30 patients in one day and getting them out the door and having diagnosis of like glaucomas and tears and diabetic retinopathies with macular edema that came a couple of days later to be seen in the same clinic by Dr. Pearson, for example. We were so fortunate and lucky to have pretty much most people of the department want to join us, anywhere from, you know, the providers that I just mentioned to residents, fellows. We had techs from the department, administrative staff, medical students. You see here more of those situations. You have, you know, Dr. Higgins doing tumbling E-charts in the middle of like a field, and Dr. Kapoor and Dr. Sanders trying to do a full exam in the middle of a tent that had nothing but just like a retinoscope and an indirect ophthalmoscope. So these are really precious opportunities to see these amazing professionals work with very little in different situations than they usually do in the clinic, and also really good opportunities for med students to learn. So we were finally able to resume this activity, and last weekend we went back to Hazard where we first started, and we just had a blast. It was such a good day. We had anywhere from, you know, again, residents, we had more residents, med students. We have illustrious members of our department, refracting kids and refracting from scratch patients that had large refractive errors but hadn't brought their glasses, and all at the same time teaching med students and teaching residents. We had, you see here, you know, our techs and wonderful administrative staff who had a smile in their faces and welcomed everyone. Heather Henderlight, which I don't know if you've met, but she's great, and she's our new optometrist at Manchester. She did a wonderful job as well. So, you know, we were just so happy to do this. And this particular outreach this day on last Saturday was particularly special to us because not only were we able to provide eyeglasses and eye exams to these people, but we also, so this is the whole team. You see the more illustrious members are kind of on this side and the less illustrious on this side. But this was really special because as we all know, Eastern Kentucky and Southern Eastern Kentucky was struck by disaster just a few weeks ago. And you can still see all of this devastation as you drive down. Things that you wouldn't imagine were possible, like cars high on I don't know, 30 feet trees, and how did that get there? And pieces of houses, and you don't understand, you know, how what happened to people and objects and animals in those floods. And you see that the morale in the population there has come down some, you know, at least for me, when I do regular satellite clinics down there, and I do see that people are sad and they come into the clinics, and instead of talking about their vegetable gardens, they talk about the friend who died, or their house that got flooded and they had to completely change the floor, or, you know, just really sad situations. And I think this was particularly special because not only did they feel like they were getting what they needed, which were eye exams and glasses for lots of people who lost them, but also they felt like they hadn't been forgotten. We had heard lots of stories. Most people who came into the clinic were showing us pictures of things that happened to them or their friends. You know, people saying that their pets had died, all of them. Well, talking about how their friends had lost their children. And when, you know, the stories that are even directly linked to glasses, like, for example, this one story of this patient that Dr. Sanders saw, and he couldn't see anything. He didn't have any glasses, and he had a high I think he had like high astigmatism. And he was talking to us, and he said, you know, I was in the middle of the flood. I had my glasses on, and I was grabbing onto my sister, and the glasses just went in the flood. And that happened just before I couldn't hold on to my sister anymore. And then she was gone, and he lost her sister in the flood. And he associated the lack of glasses and the fact that he couldn't see with his sister's death just a few weeks ago. So we were able to not just, you know, get him the glasses, not get him the glasses then, but refract him and actually rush his glasses so he'll get his glasses in just a few days. These things, not only the fact that we're doing eye exams and giving glasses to people, but the fact that we are providing to people who sometimes feel forgotten by the rest of the world, and especially after natural disasters, I think are really special and make these weekends really worthwhile. And I think that everyone felt this, everyone who was there. So thank you so much to all the volunteers. You see the large list of volunteers. We have a bunch more volunteers for an October trip to Jackson, Breathitt County, which was one of the most affected areas by the flood. We couldn't do it also without the Huffmans, who always graciously donate their sites without questions. And we're able to use all their equipment and their rooms. And also Kentucky Home Place, who always partners with us and helps us with the glasses and with the patients that are theirs. So thank you so much, everyone, for helping us in this. A very brief, I don't know how I'm doing in time. I still have a couple of minutes. Very, very brief. I could talk probably half an hour about Haiti. I'm not going to do that because we have lots of interesting stuff coming up about Guatemala, but I will say Haiti is, a very special project. I direct the 2 ophthalmology residency programs down there. We currently have 16 residencies, 16 residents. For the first time in the history of the country, we also have fellows now. We have a surgical retina fellow, a cornea fellow, a glaucoma fellow, and 2 PEDS fellows. So these are going to be the first subspecialists in the country. We are very proud of them. They are doing an amazing job. The residency program itself is still missing and lacking so much. It's really, really difficult to travel down there because the situation is very dangerous for foreigners and even for Haitians. But for foreigners, it's particularly dangerous. So it's very difficult to get a breather and be able to travel down there and not put ourselves and our hosts in danger. So I've been doing most of this work remotely, but luckily we've been able to sustain our lecture curriculum, which they get via Zoom. It's basically like you guys' lecture curriculum here. It's done. They have two to three lectures a week done by subspecialists in each one of the areas. They just do lectures via Zoom instead of in person. And that's arranged, that has been arranged for the past couple of years. Every year we have lecturers from all over the world give lectures in French. And this year we had, and these faculty have participated in the past, but I always want to thank this year these 3 amazing lecturers who gave lectures to some of the lectures to the Haitian residents. We also have, so I'm going to get to that in a second. Oh, sorry. This year, so the residents in Haiti really don't have a way of assessing them or evaluating them and seeing how they're progressing in terms of knowledge and how they move forward, how and if they should move forward to the next year of training. So this year, for the first year, we have instituted a protocol that was accepted by the National Ministry of Health in Haiti, and that's going to be probably instituted in all residencies in the country. With the ophthalmology is the first one doing it, and it's probably going to be spread out to the other residencies as well. So the residents have to submit an annual report now, which they just submitted a few weeks ago, and I've been reviewing for all of the residents, which basically documents all their activities, their scientific, clinical, and educational activities throughout the year, including surgical numbers, detailed description of their surgical techniques. And then with that annual report, we do an oral exam to each one of the residents. That's approximately an hour, where there's basically an ophthalmology exam with knowledge questions, and also an exam on the annual reports to basically assess whether they can move forward or not. And just to prove that the world is really small, and that really there should be no boundaries regarding countries or races, or you're in Haiti and we're here and we don't care about what's going on there. We have our residents here that, you see Dr. Conde here with 2 of the 2 PEDS fellows that just met and hung out in Utah a few weeks ago. And, just says that we really should be all one, and we really should be trying to make equality in medicine a main mission for healthcare. This is the last slide I have, and then I'm going to give word to Dr. Kapoor, who has so many more interesting things to talk about, but this is something I'm particularly proud of, and I am really excited about this. Global health doesn't really have a curriculum or mandatory just a mandatory curriculum in global ophthalmology, or probably in most residencies. And so this year, the AUPO and the residency program director, which I think is basically the person, each year it's a different person. And this year it's Jeff Beatty from the Moran. They kind of coordinate all the residency program directions, I guess. They have decided to put together a task force to standardize the GO curriculum for residency programs. And we're trying to do this. We just started a few weeks ago, but basically what we're going to do is to standardize the GO curriculum for the residencies in order to provide tools for the programs, the directors and the residents to have easy access to education in global ophthalmology during their training, instead of trying to grasp at straws and trying to figure out, well, I don't know how to do this and how can we do it? So we're going to have all this material created, and also assessment forms for the residents that are going to be basically AUPO approved, and they're going to be housed in the One Network website of the American Academy, so that all of the program directors and the residents can have access to them and have this training have this as a part of their training. So hopefully this will be done by the end of this academic year. And with this, I am going to move on to Dr. Ellen Van Meter, who is going to talk about a really exciting project that has been going on for a long time and finally might start soon. So
yes. That was really great, Anna. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Ellen Van Norman. And so I've been helping out with this project that some of you guys might know about, some of you guys might not. So a long time ago in February 2019, I actually never clean out my email inbox. So I found the original email that started this project. And I screenshotted it, but it's really small, but I'm just gonna read it to you guys. So it says, "Good afternoon. Here at James Lane Allen, the Family Resource Center, along with other student support professionals, work to assist in alleviating non-academic barriers to educational success. One of the major issues seen at our school that we cannot seem to find a solution for is poor eye health care. Every semester, we have students with poor eye health care in need of further exams and prescription glasses. However, for many reasons, students do not receive the needed care for their eyes and vision. Due to this unaddressed issue, students often miss instructional time with complaints of headaches, perform below the average for their grade level, have poor scores in reading, and eventually fall behind their classmates. Not only is it my role to assist students, but because of my own special eye care needs, I am very concerned for my students who are going without needed exams and glasses. There is a dental van for oral health care, which has assisted many students in accessing much needed dental care on the school premises. I would greatly appreciate the opportunity to explore the possibility of a partnership in order to meet this presenting need. Many great things start with a conversation. I would greatly appreciate the chance to discuss how our organizations may be able to collaborate. And sincerely, Ariane Jet Steels." So Anna Bastos got this email and included me and a couple others on the pediatrics team about a local school here in Lexington where the students were really struggling. So a little bit about who sent this email. Ariane Jet Steels, so she's a social worker. And until January 2020, she was the Family Resource Director at James Lane Allen. But actually, when she left in January 2020, she came over to UK. She was so wonderful at her job that she took it to the college level and actually encouraged UK to create this position that had never been in this college before, in this whole institution, to be the basic needs coordinator, which is basically ensuring that all students here at UK have basic necessities for well-being on campus, which I think is a lot of things we don't think about, but there absolutely is problems with access for certain people. And it's been great for us because we've actually gotten to work with her when she was on the Fayette County school side and when she's come over to the UK side, which has been great. So when we talk about an elementary school's Family Resource Center, so what that program does is it recognizes the total family and educational success. So Christian Meyer and I actually got to go visit the James Lane Allen Family Resource Center a couple weeks ago. and talked to their current social worker, whose name is Madeline Potter. And they do things like supply evening and weekend meal kits to families who otherwise wouldn't have food. They supply clothing and coats for students. They coordinate and supply healthcare needs for students that otherwise wouldn't be able to get those. So they actually have their own Facebook page. And I went and looked at their Facebook page, and she posts all kinds of things like free haircuts here this Saturday, or, you know, this place is giving out pencils over here, and just things that, you know, a lot of us wouldn't have to think about, but that's really important for those that need it. So this specific school, James Lane Allen Elementary, they have 331 total students, and roughly 80% of them have been put in the category of economically disadvantaged. 45% of them are Hispanic or Latino, so that is quite a diverse population. And then 10 of their students were actually registered as being homeless. And then we also have 15 migrant students. So when we think about, you know, these students and their access to eye exams to be able to drive down here on a work day to Shriners Park, pay for parking, come in, you know, some of them might not have insurance or things like that, you know, especially if they're a migrant student, things like that, that there are people who really cannot get their children here for eye care. And the other thing we have to think about is students with disabilities, which has been a big focus of our meetings and our thought on this project. So 27% of that elementary school's population has been put in this category of students with disabilities. You know, we've got several with autism, some with speech language, developmental delay, but everyone, so 27% of their population has an IEP, which is called an individualized education plan. So this is a plan or a program developed to ensure that a child with a disability who is attending an elementary school gets special instruction and related services. So the school will provide them all the kind of services they need or alterations in the classroom so that they can be their best selves and learn the best way that they can. Okay, so an IEP, or the Individualized Education Plan, so it's developed by a team of individuals, and actually a lot of the people in this room have contributed towards someone's IEP. So anytime we fill out for pediatrics, those school forms that, let's say for the child with visual issues or something like that, that form is what they take into school. And if they're on an IEP, that's what goes into their thing for their vision, into their folder. But it includes involvement in progress of the child, services for which the child qualifies, and then appropriate educational accommodations necessary for the child to be successful, and then goals and objectives for the child's education. So it's really important, this form. If any of you have filled out this form, this has gone into someone's IEP folder to help their visual success. But the thing that we found out is on these forms and things, if we say, yep, they need glasses, this is their vision with their glasses. If you see in red, without prescription glasses, the IEP cannot be filed. So what we found out through the social worker is that if these children don't have the glasses, even though they were recommended to have them, they won't do the rest of the accommodations for these children. They won't initiate their IEP at all. Back in 2019, they identified 30 students who were like the most important, because these were the kids that had an IEP, but needed glasses, needed to go to the next step, basically. And that was our pilot. But obviously we all know what happened in 2020. But you know, the need is still there. And we're really excited to go in and help best we can. So I wanted to go ahead and thank everybody who participated in our Pappy raffle. For those of you guys who weren't here, about 6 months ago or so, we did a raffle where we raffled off Pappy Van Winkle, and the department was really involved in promoting it and everything like that. We were able to raise more than enough funds to get all of our equipment. that we needed for this project. So we were able to get portable Snellen and Leah charts and matching cards, a portable phoropter, so we can actually have a phoropter to pull down and do a refraction in the school. Portable slit lamps, BIOs, trial lenses. I think we were talking about getting a portable autorefractor. We're getting a portable autorefractor, which is really neat. So the fact that, you know, everybody promoted this raffle and everything like that really made a huge difference to this project. So thank you guys so much. So still some things to work through. We're really trying to get this project off the ground, but we're trying to figure out follow-up care, you know, so if they're identified to need follow-up, is that something we coordinate in the school still, or do we bring them in when it's hard for the parents to get here? So, you know, that's something we're trying to figure out as well. The biggest slowdown, I think, has been the billing and the cogs in the back that we as providers don't think about as much. When we started this project, we were on AEHR. So, but now we're on Epic, and with Epic, you have to have a location every time you go somewhere, and they have to build the location, and that takes time, and how to coordinate the documentation in Epic. So we are working through that. And also we're starting the conversation about glasses. So, you know, in 2019, we didn't have an optical, but now we do, and they're wonderful, and they're doing a great job, and they're willing to help us out with this project. So it's bringing those glasses into the schools and seeing if we can get kids to pick them out, and then making the glasses and then bringing them back and everything like that. So we're really, there's a lot to work through with this project, but there's a lot that we're really excited about. And I know Anna and Christian and everybody just has new awesome ideas every time we talk about it. So just looking at how this project can grow, I mean, we started by one really awesome social worker in one elementary school. But if we look just at Fayette County, there's 37 elementary schools, 12 middle schools and 6 high schools. And that's, you know, 41,000 students around. And so, you know, I think that there's a huge need there right here in our backyard for local children. And this could really be something great. And we could really make this big. So I have a few special thanks. So first of all, to Anna Bastos, thank you so much for, you know, supporting this project and being its biggest advocate. And Dr. Pearson for helping to, you know, raise money and also helping to coordinate. Julia Stevens and Christian Meyer have both volunteered to be doctors that go in and see patients at least for a half day or a full day a month. They and I will do that. And so they've been great, and they've jumped in. Peter Blosser put together our entire equipment list of what to order, and he's been very involved with this as well. And that was a lot of work. So thank you, Peter. And then Beth Yost, Casey Stevens, and Megan Chestnut for doing everything in the background to make sure that we're not doing anything that goes against university policy. There's a lot of work in the background to coordinate a new site, and they've been great. So my sources. And I was told before I get done to just say a little promo about next weekend is our Try for Sight, the triathlon that our department puts on. We really need volunteers. It's on Sunday morning at 5 a.m. Yay! But it's a really great event, and it raises money for our department, and it's been so great in getting us and our patients the equipment that we need. And it's a really fun event. You don't have to run, bike, or swim. You can come out and just cheer and be a part of something really cool. So we'd love to have you. Thanks.
I think so.
I can't wait to speak. Can you share the whole screen? Yeah, the left one.
Oh, yeah.
Upper left, because you're gonna play a video, right?
Right.
Yeah, just do the upper left one.
On vacation.
Then when you go
Somebody or not the
to the video, we'll just,
with violence.
this will just move on. We'll just like. Then out of the full video, when here and the video should be there.
Surrounded by psychopaths.
Running out of-
What is it's the entire world.
You are as. I thought you were much more insane than that.
Evening, everyone, and a special welcome to one of our Guatemala colleagues, Claudia, who has signed in from Guatemala. For anyone that doesn't know me, I'm Seema Kapoor, and I'd like, first of all, to thank Anna and Eric for inviting me to join UK Go. I'm very excited because this way I get to present my experience in Guatemala that I've had for the last 3 years. So the La Familia Eye Center in Nuevo Progreso in the Western Highlands of Guatemala is where I have been 3 times in the last 3 years. And I am excited to present it because I think it represents a really good example of a sustainable model of eye care that is part of our vision at UK Go. I would like to acknowledge Dr. Andy Sorensen, who I will introduce a little bit later on in the presentation, for generously sharing some of his slides for this presentation today. So the Eye Center is one of the 4 pillars of the Hospital de la Familia, which is a 70-bed regional medical center in Nuevo Progreso. It also supports malnutrition for rehab services for children under the age of 5 and supports local education for the people of Nuevo Progreso. So that's the mission of this hospital that we visit. Per the latest USAID statistics, Guatemala has a population of just over 15 million, half of whom self-identify as indigenous people. This includes a diverse array of different communities and ethnic groups. However, unfortunately, a lot of these communities tend to be underserved and suffer disproportionately along most every development indicator. Poverty and chronic malnutrition are the biggest problems, with some of the indigenous areas reaching about 80% rates. And that, unfortunately, is the area that we go to in the Western Highlands. So in this area, highlighted on the bottom left of that map of Guatemala, the average individual lives on less than $2 a day. Food and nutrition come from subsistence farming, and chronic malnutrition in children under 7 is approximately 70%. About a third of the adults cannot read or write. Nuevo Progreso, which is where the hospital is 165 kilometers from the capital, Guatemala City, right there in the map. And it takes us about 6 hours of driving from Guatemala City, where we land into, to get to this place. And there really is no other way to get to Nuevo Progreso. And just, this is an important fact to remember because of the local ophthalmologists that come to this center. So the Hospital de la Familia exists because of the vision and commitment of 3 extraordinary individuals. We have on the left, Padre Bertoldo, that was a local Italian priest in Nuevo Progreso in the 60s, Jack Younger, who was a Bay Area contractor and philanthropist, and Janine Archambault, who was a Canadian who had committed her life to serving in poor Latin American communities. So in the late 1960s, the Padre and Janine Archambault got together in Nuevo Progreso and decided that the local people needed healthcare and education. And they set up a makeshift clinic, a pharmacy, and a women's sewing school. And they had this going for a few years until Jack Younger, pictured in the middle there, came along and decided that what they had done wasn't necessarily enough and a much larger effort was needed for the local people. So he returns to the Bay Area, where he is the member of a private club called the Family Club, and raises $100,000 in funds to build a hospital in Nuevo Progreso. And construction starts in '72. It takes 4 years with the help of the local people to make this hospital. And in 1976, it opens its doors and is called the Hospital de la Familia after the Family Club Foundation. To this day, that club remains a huge donor for this foundation, and many of its members are on the board of the hospital and come in varying capacities as part of visiting teams multiple times a year to Nuevo Progreso. I've been really fortunate to meet with the granddaughter of Jack Younger, who sits on the board currently. And she is a really avid promoter of women's issues and women's health and education, and is really committed to stamping out malnutrition. So she works tirelessly for this organization. I'm running short of time, so I'm going to skip this video. It was a little promotional video about the hospital. But I'll move on to Andy Sorensen, who I acknowledged earlier in the presentation, and happens to be a cornea and refractive surgeon in Berkeley, California, and affiliated with UC Berkeley, who is the chair of the Eye Center Committee. And it's really his vision that has allowed this eye center to become a sustainable Guatemalan doctor-led eye center. He has been going to the Eye Center since 1989, and he goes annually, or has been since then. But in the early 2000s, he decided that just visiting missions wasn't enough, that really the Eye Center needed to be a self-sustaining, local doctor-led endeavor. And so towards this end, he has worked tirelessly. He's an amazing fundraiser and started promoting the Eye Center to local ophthalmologists. He went and visited all kinds of programs and schools and tried to attract local ophthalmologists to leave behind their families and friends in the big cities and take themselves off to this remote part of Western Guatemala where there was no nightlife, no gyms, no restaurants, that people just had to come and devote their time to serving the local people. And amazingly enough, he recruited the first candidate in 2016. That ophthalmologist stayed for 5 years. And since then, he has developed this eye clinic to include 7 ophthalmologists who, between them, make sure that there is constant access to eye care in the region. Prior to this model, it was just visiting teams that went 4 or 5 times a year that would provide eye care, and the rest of the time, the patients had nowhere to go. So of the 7, one is a full-time ophthalmologist who stays there 20 days of the month and gets 10 days off to get a break. and the other 6 dedicate their times either through going weekends or spending a 10-day block at a time each month and alternate to make sure there's constant access. One of those amazing ophthalmologists is Claudia. I wish you would show yourself, Claudia. She's one of the corneal subspecialists, and she is one of the people that goes for 10 days out of the month.
Yeah, she's
Sophia there. Oh, hey, Sophia.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, Sophia is the director of the eye clinic right now, and I'll talk a little bit more about her in a minute. So of these 7, 3 are corneal subspecialists. One is a retina fellow in training, who's training in Guatemala City. And then a couple of them are from El Salvador and one is from Ecuador. So he's done an amazing job, Andy has, of attracting these people to come and staff this eye center. Also, the manager of the hospital is a local from Nuevo Progreso who left to go and study and come here to the States to study, but then decided his real mission was to go back and serve his local people. So he is really dedicated to providing and improving healthcare access and services and education to his hometown people. And then about the eye center since 2016, local Guatemalan ophthalmologists have succeeded in exceeding the number of surgeries performed by them over visiting US surgeons. And Andy's projections are super ambitious, but as we can see, there has been an amazing increase in volume of surgical procedures provided. This is a typical daily surgical list that the surgeons get through. It might be 1, it might be 3. And after they're done with this, they go on to staff the clinics. So it's a very long and a very busy and a very intense day. I don't know how they do it, but they do. Part of his model involves fundraising, like Ellen was talking about, and Andy heads the Eye Center committee. Part of their fundraising efforts recently allowed them to buy some retinal equipment to be able to open up a retina program at the Eye Center, which it's never had. Corporate donations are another big part of this model. And thanks to that, last year, Hogstrite donated this fancy camera equipment that takes amazing pictures and videos and has been invaluable for teaching visitors and for sharing cases that these doctors see. With the arrival of Sophia Bravo, who's just an amazing person, then an amazing surgeon, and now an amazing teacher, she has been able to, with donated newer microscopes and phaco equipment, teach small incision cataract surgery and phaco to any newcomers or anyone else coming in to learn. And that's part of the reason the number of surgeries has gone up. And this is just an average cataract that they see to remove there. Sophia herself is a corneal subspecialist, and because of her being there and the others, the center is able to do more subspecialty procedures. So they've done many more corneal transplants than they ever did before. And the limitation to doing these surgeries, unfortunately, right now is that there is no eye bank in Western Guatemala. So there are very limited available corneas, and it's the visiting teams that take the corneas. And I've been really fortunate to be able to take 18 corneas in the last 3 trips that I have been on. Another thing that has recently started as part of this sustainable clinic effort is a weekly Grand Rounds presentation session. It's been going really well. Unfortunately, it's a little late in the evening on Wednesdays to accommodate West Coasters, East Coasters, and everyone in between, and for the local doctors to finish their clinics before joining. And it's been an amazing opportunity to share interesting and challenging cases and get feedback or kind of brainstorm with subspecialists in America to solve problems. But we've all learned a lot from this. And so I see us fitting in because I think that this model of sustainable eye care, rather than just swanning in and providing eye care, fits really well with our vision of global ophthalmology. It's also just an amazing cultural experience, and I've been really privileged to meet some amazing people as part of the trips that I've been on. And that's really all I'm going to say, because Angela is going to step in and give you a little more detail about her experience. But if anyone has any questions at this point, do ask. I put this one, oh, that's a resident. We took it away.
Sorry. Oh, sorry.
Put one there to see how many were paying attention.
Oh my God.
Any questions about that? I'm happy to answer. You see them?
That's a resident.
Right there, people.
Oh my gosh.
This was after a hard day's work. The Patron silver was all that was available.
Done at 10 p.m. that day. Thank you. Okay. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my personal experience. This was my first time on an international trip, and I know it's kind of hard to come up with any expectations at all when you don't really know what expectations to have. So this is subjective, but this is my experience. Dr. Kapoor already went over this. I just have this here just in case we didn't cover something, so I'm going to skip all that. And thank you again to Doctors Claudia, Sophia, and Isa for being here. Isa is one of the retina people over there who I got to know. But anyway, so being my first experience, I know a lot of us kind of think that, you know, you go on these international trips and you're going to get your numbers, you're going to do a ton of surgery, and then you're going to come back feeling really good about helping others. But what I kind of realized from this is it's beyond that. It'll really humble you. And so in terms of like purpose and goals, these were my purpose and goals when I went there. It was to learn from each other, first of all, to teach each other, to exchange experience, and to share knowledge, not just go and do a bunch of surgeries and come back. I'm going to go over some examples of what they taught me, which is the manual small incision cataract surgery, what we kind of helped teach them, which was phacoemulsification, corneal transplants, some open skies, a lot of crazy things. And then to exchange experiences and sharing knowledge in terms of the different equipment and kind of limited resources and creative solutions that you have to come up with. And of course, there is a whole new component of these trips. It's the cultural aspect of it. There's going to be a language barrier. I'm not fluent in Spanish at all. So there's a lot of different ways I had to try to communicate with patients and other people who spoke no English either. And just knowing that it's not your territory, that's not your land, it's not your people, it's not your patients, to be respectful, you know, try not to step over others, try to be really, really humble. So what happened? Dr. Kapoor and I, we booked our trip together. We were roommates for like 7 days. But in any case, what you see here, let's see if I can, that pointer, is this on? Guess it's not, battery's dead. Yeah, I don't think it works, but anyway, maybe I'll use my mouse. Okay, so over here, we're in Guatemala, and Dr. Kapoor is being inspected here, and we're ready to say that these cornea transplants were just contact lenses, right? Yeah. And then we landed in Guatemala City. We had a great time just at a really nice hotel called Barcelo, getting to know all the people from
the Bay Area who brought like 5 other residents and a bunch of other specialties like general surgery, OB-GYN, all of those. And then this is our bus ride from Guatemala City to Nuevo Progreso, which is about 6 hours of driving. So we had a lot of fun there. But before all that, we did visit, this is Dr. Isa. We did visit this really unique hospital in Guatemala City. It's just for eyes. It's fully equipped, and they not only focus on treating and managing disease, but also how patients can cope with poor vision. So they kind of have their own like low vision center, even Braille, everything like that. Thought that was really neat. So we arrived in Nuevo Progreso, and this is a video of, it's a really, really small rural village, essentially on top of a hill elevation. This is what it looks like. So here's a video of that. All around you, it's that. And the housing situation is also very unique. So housing, it's almost like a hostel style where you have roommates, you have these really nice bedrooms actually. And this is how we were greeted. It was kind of fun. A couple of stories. There's a pharmacy downstairs. And if you just cross the street, like literally 5 steps, that's where the hospital is and all the OR centers. I wanted to get right back at Dr. Kapoor for putting that photo up and say, this isn't a trip with Dr. Kapoor without stopping by the garden. If you've been to her house, it's basically a garden haven. So this is Dr. Kapoor. Oh, here. All right, so typical day schedule. We have these beautiful morning walks to look at nature and just kind of be zen and meditate at 6 a.m. Then breakfast is around 7 o'clock. And then you see some post-op patients, see an average of 50 patients in clinic, but one of their optometrists who basically runs the clinic, his name is Rupert, and he's unable to join us today. Would have been 5 o'clock a.m. Western time. Yeah, he's unable to join today, but he said that before having appointments, they just did walk-ins and about 100 patients would be coming and they would just be sitting all outside. It was very fast paced and he's amazing too, Rupert. And in terms of OR, there's one large room and you can set up, I think, up to 4 patients in that same room. And we have about 15 plus cases per day. And what's amazing is it's not just an array of cataract surgeries where you have both phacoemulsification and you have manual and small incision intercap, but they also take care of some glaucoma tube shunts too. I saw one Bayervelt, and I know not all of them are specialized in glaucoma, but I just thought that the skills that they had was just brilliant. They're really good at navigating through all that. And of course, a bunch of cornea cases that we had, and pterygia, they have really big, beefy pterygia. They're very impressive. I think I got all my numbers in there. And finally, at the end of the day, on average, you'll end around 7 p.m. The latest we had was 10 o'clock p.m. because we had that conference Zoom call with California. With the ground round style, but it's enriching. Everyone's on the same page. We all have the same goal of just helping these patients. Of course, the paperwork there is really quick too, so that helps, but in any case, it was very enriching. So this is one of the morning walks. It was beautiful. All right. Decided to get back at Dr. Kapoor a second time. But where do these patients come from? If you remember the map, Nuevo Progreso is around the southwestern part of Guatemala, and Mexico is right there kind of bordering it. So they do kind of capture a lot of patients from Mexico as well. And in terms of the equipment, they have a pretty decent amount and variety of equipment. They have an ultrasound there. They have basically, I don't know what kind of biometrics that they have, but maybe an IOL master or something else, a Lenstar. And then they have scans for OCT scans there. They have 3 slit lamps, they have indirect. They have basically everything to function as a full eye clinic. And here, doing an indirect, this is Dr. Sophia. And then this is Dr. Kapoor. The bag is about half her body size. and then she sped off on one of those motorbikes. All right, so ophthalmology clinic, most common, we see very, very terrible diabetic eyes, but they are able to do injections. I don't know if they were able to do injections there, but they refer out, correct, to?
No, they're doing it.
They do there. Okay, I know they're setting up retina there, for sure.
And then Isa is now doing injections. She has.
She is. Oh, okay. Yeah, so they're getting, I think, a constellation in November, and some of the people from the Bay Area, Dr. Jesse Jung, yeah, he's involved in it. But there are still some challenges and limitations, and so I kind of wanted to quickly go over this. One case that we saw was a 17-year-old male. He had a penetrating full thickness lac to the cornea by nail. So in a nice ER, like over here in UK, you see that you don't check pressure, you just get a CAT scan, and then you find out if there's metal in the back of the eye. And if so, then you take it out, right? It's not that simple in Guatemala. They don't have a CAT scan there. And for these patients to be advised to drive out hours and hours away, they're not going to do that. And so what we had to do was, well, we had to use the ultrasound probe to see something. And this was kind of suspicious. I just put one scan there, but it's almost like a little vortex over here, like something was supposed to be there. But in any case, Dr. Claudia was able to close the wound beautifully. This was actually a very complex one. It looks very linear here, but it was actually quite complex and kept on leaking. She was able to do that. But one question that I kind of had, and Claudia, if you're still there, I mean, you don't really have to participate, but my kind of hypothetical question was, how do you advise the patient? You know, like, where do they even go to get this CAT scan? Like, do they just leave it there? And I mean, Claudia, do you have any comments on this?
Hi everyone. Well, this is a common case that we have here in Nuevo Progreso and also around Guatemala. We have a lot of trauma because of the kind of the job of the people. They are farmers. They do work without an adequate equipment. So that's why we have a lot of these cases. So here in Nuevo Progreso, we are able to look up to these cases and make like the first surgery. But well, this patient didn't go very well after the surgery. He ended up like with no light perception vision and had a wide retinal detachment. So the patient like we just leave it that way, right? Because we didn't have like anything else to do. But in other cases where there is still vision left and they have a retinal detachment, as you said, we still don't have the whole retinal equipment here. So we refer these patients to the city. As you said, it is like 6 hours from here. Maybe for these people, it's even more because they use the public transportations like the bus, so maybe 10 hours from here, but that's what we have to do, or to refer them to the some hospitals that they may be able to pay, because as you know, our retina surgery, it's very expensive everywhere, right? So that's what we usually do here. There are some other places here, like 2 or 3 hours away from here, but they are private clinics, so it will be too expensive for the patients in these conditions. But we do also refer them to these clinics because they save like a little bit of the distance and everything they have to pay if they go to the city. It equals the amount of money that they will pay in the private clinic 2 hours away from here. I don't know if I do respond to your question.
Yeah, yeah. Basically, I mean, it's that challenging. They're not quite as privileged. And I know there are areas here in the U.S. as well. Transportation is difficult, but yeah, especially kind of in the Nuevo Progreso area, that particular town, it's very, very difficult. Thank you so much, Dr. Claudia. Okay.
You're welcome.
Operating room. We Retro Boulevard block everyone. Nobody gets sedation. Someone got some prayers, and I'm not kidding. But they do a very good job tolerating these surgeries. And our surgeons are obviously like wonderful in Guatemala. I just kind of put here, they have Leicoscopes. The chairs, as you can see, it's office chairs, it's stools, whatever they have, Trypan Blue, everybody. They have a whole bunch of lenses. It's impressive, the equipment that they have actually. And they have pretty good post-op outcomes. So that was great. Just a quick video. This is a very typical cataract. This was me working on one of the M6 cases, and I'm holding a Simcoe, which is essentially a syringe. That's how you aspirate, and you irrigate and aspirate at the same time. And you have to be really careful when you're removing that cortex, but that's me doing that. That's a black cataract. I think I took that one home. So here, lens loop, apply a little bit of pressure, and then the lens just comes right out through that scleral tunnel. Yeah, there you have it. Okay. They do make it look really easy. So that was kind of the we learn part, and I wanted to go over we teach part. And this is Dr. Kapoor just being Dr. Kapoor. So she was teaching how to do PKs over here. She's explaining PKs, sutures, astigmatism. This is her talking to Dr. Kari, who isn't here today, about the sewing machine or dialysis repair. And I don't have a great video. It was a longer case because it was very challenging eye as well. But as you can see, well, I'm not gonna play everything, but see, literally you're doing like a sewing machine type. You thread the suture through this 26 gauge needle, and then you go from inside to outside, and now you have a bunch of sutures. You cut the loops and then you tie them. So really neat way. And if you want to look at a video, here's one over here. Okay, for sake of time, moving on. Another way of teaching, we're going over lens calculations, and there was a very, very myopic eye with an axial length of 34.49 that needed basically a minus lens. So I thought that was we had a long discussion there. All right, so summary of our accomplishments. A little shout out to Dr. Claudia here again, but in 5 days we had, I think, 62 operations, and we saw at least 150 patients, at least. So that was very gratifying. So how can you get involved if you're a trainee? It's a long process. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of people involved too, with GME as well. So take at least 4 months to prepare. When you think you're done with paperwork or not. And then when can you go to Guatemala if you're interested? I think their next trip is in July that you can go, but certainly if you want to arrange something else and are very serious about it, I believe Dr. Kapoor may be willing to kind of discuss with you. In terms of funding and scholarships, you can talk to Anna about it. She sent some resources for me to take a look at. And these are some names in GME if you need to get in touch. I have some reflections over here. Those are a couple of kids who wanted to take a picture with me, so I did. And one quote that kind of stood out to me was Maya Angelou: "They may forget your name, but they will never forget how you made them feel." And this is just kind of a reflection that I had. So when I came to Guatemala, not knowing what to expect and just excited to learn, teach, and help vision to this community, I'm leaving having taken away more than I expected to ever give. And I'll forever be grateful and humbled by mentors and patients on what it means to be human. So that was the other aspect that I kind of learned from this, not just science. All right, so that's the end of my presentation. The last 1.5 days, we all spent time in Antigua on our way back to Guatemala City and the airport. So these are some photos there. I think it was a holiday Lenten season over there. So that's
It was Easter.
yeah, Lenten, Easter. So lots of palms over there and a beautiful sunset. That's actually Nuevo Progreso, I think. But anyway, okay, so that's it. Thank you. We're done.
Happy to take any questions.
A little bit about like the financial aspect of it, as far as like people are paid on a sliding scale or like food.
Yes, so that's how it's set up.
Okay.
Very much so. Those who can't afford